The wind drove dust like knives across the open range, slashing through the failing light as Elias Ward rode toward the ranch. The horizon burned red behind the canyons, and the air smelled of dry sage and something uneasy, the kind of stillness that meant trouble was waiting. The ranch house stood alone, its porch lanterns swinging in the wind. A woman's silhouette moved behind the curtain, cautious, tired-armed. Elias reined in, boots hitting the dirt, the sound of his spurs cutting through the hush. A rifle cocked. "State your business." Her voice was sharp, brittle as cracked glass. "Name's Ward," he said, hands raised slow. "Heard you needed a hand with something that comes round after dark." The door opened just wide enough to show her eyes, steady but hollowed out by sleepless nights. The barrel of the rifle didn't waver. Behind her, a little girl clung to her dress, face pressed against faded fabric. "It's near sundown," the woman said. "You'd best be gone before it starts." "Before what starts?" The girl's voice slipped out before her mother could stop her. "He comes back." Elias looked down at her, small, dirt on her cheeks, eyes wide and shining with something that wasn't just fear. "Who comes back, sweetheart?" She swallowed hard. "My pa. He sneaks in every night." The woman stiffened. "That's enough, Rosie." Elias said nothing. The lantern's glow trembled across her face, catching the faint tremor of her hand on the gun. He could see the lines of worry carved deep into her skin, the kind you don't earn from weather alone. "I can stay the night," he offered. "Watch the place." "No need," she said too quickly. "He don't harm us. Just walks." "Walks," Elias echoed. "In and out. Every night. Door bolted or not." The wind caught the shutters, banging them open with a hollow slap. The girl jumped. Her mother flinched but didn't lower the rifle. "You believe it's a man?" Elias asked quietly. "I buried my husband 2 years ago, Mr. Ward. So you tell me what else it could be." The sun dipped fully, and the world turned blue and still. Coyotes called out from the ridge. Elias stepped up onto the porch, the boards groaning beneath his weight. "Ma'am," he said, voice low, "ghosts don't leave tracks." Something shifted in her eyes, not hope, but the shadow of it. She lowered the rifle an inch. "You'll find a place in the barn," she said, "if you're fool enough to stay." He nodded once and walked toward the dark. The wind pushed at his back, whispering through the dry grass. From the doorway, the girl's small voice drifted after him, thin and trembling in the night air. "Please don't let him take Mama." The door shut, the latch clicked, and the valley fell silent except for the sound of Elias Ward's boots on the gravel, steady, deliberate, as he went to meet whatever haunted Whisper Valley. The lantern flame shuddered, throwing shadows that crawled along the walls like restless things. Elias stood by the window, rifle in hand, eyes tracing the pale wash of moonlight stretching across the yard. The ranch lay silent, too silent. Even the crickets had gone still. From the far side of the barn came the soft crunch of gravel. A single step, then another. Elias's thumb eased back the hammer. Inside, the boards creaked. Rosie whimpered from her cot. Clara hushed her quick and low. "Don't you look, sweetheart. Don't you look." The footsteps stopped outside the door. A pause, long enough for Elias to feel the thrum of his pulse in his ears. Then came the sound of fingers on the latch. Slow, testing. He moved without a word, crossing the floor in 3 quiet strides. The door shivered once, then swung open an inch. The lantern light caught a glimpse of a shape, tall, stooped, the brim of a hat low, face swallowed in dark. Elias lunged, kicking the door wide, rifle leveled. "Show yourself." Nothing. The porch was empty, the yard stretched bare beneath the moon. The only movement was the ghost of dust spinning in the wind. He stepped outside, boots crunching on grit. The air was cold and dry, tasting of iron. Behind him, Clara stood in the doorway, rifle trembling in her hands. "There," she whispered, "by the barn." Elias turned. A figure slipped behind the corral fence, silent as a shadow. He ran toward it, the night splitting open with the crack of his boots and the pounding of his heart. He fired once. The shot tore the silence apart. Echoes rolled through the valley and died. When the smoke cleared, nothing. No cry, no body. Only the soft swirl of disturbed dust and the slow swing of the barn door, creaking on its hinge. Elias pushed inside. The smell of hay and old leather filled the air. A horse stamped nervously in its stall, eyes rolling white. On the ground near the trough, footprints, heavy-booted, deep. He knelt, brushing a hand over the impressions. Still warm, still alive. Outside, Clara's voice carried faint on the wind. "You saw him." Elias stood, his shadow tall against the stall doors. Someone was here. He walked back into the open, the sky wide and watchful above them. The moon slipped behind a cloud, dimming the world. Near the fence, he spotted something glinting in the dirt, a torn scrap of faded blue cloth, frayed at the edges. He picked it up, rubbing it between his fingers. Old cavalry uniform. He looked back toward the ranch house. Light flickering in the window, the silhouette of the woman holding her child tight. "Whoever's haunting this place," he said under his breath, "ain't dead yet." The wind rose again, whispering through the dry grass, carrying a sound that almost could have been a man's laugh. The horse screamed before the shot rang out. Elias dropped to one knee behind the corral fence, eyes locked on the ridge where a muzzle flash flared once, then vanished. Dust poured through the moonlight like smoke. The ranch was under fire. "Get inside," he shouted. Clara clutched Rosie and ran for the doorway, skirts dragging through the dirt. Bullets snapped through the air, splintering porch wood, tearing through the night. Elias fired back once, twice, each shot rolling through Whisper Valley like thunder. Then, from the darkness near the barn, a figure moved, slow, limping, dragging a rifle behind him. Elias froze. The man stepped into the light, face gaunt, eyes wild. His shirt hung in tatters, streaked with dirt and blood, but the rifle he carried bore a name carved in the stock, J.B. Elias rose slowly, disbelief clawing at his throat. "John Bell." The man's head lifted, eyes narrowing at the sound. "Who's his skin?" His voice was cracked, raw, like a shovel scraping stone. "Your wife says you're dead." John's laugh was hollow, strangled halfway between madness and pain. Been told that before. Gunfire cut through the exchange, sharp, echoing off the canyon walls. Elias dropped beside him, returning fire at the shadows above the ridge. John crouched beside him, breath ragged. "They come every night," John said, eyes scanning the horizon. "Outlaws. Try to take the land. Try to take my name. I've been keeping him off best I could." "You've been breaking into the house," Elias growled. John's jaw tightened. "I only come to see my little girl. Wouldn't scare her on purpose. She looks like her ma did when the sun hit her hair." His voice broke. "But Clara, she don't believe I'm me." A bullet hissed past his ear, snapping him back to the fight. "Prove it," Elias said. John met his eyes. "I can't. I buried the man she loved when I went off to war. What came back wasn't him." The ridge fell quiet. Then, movement again. 3 riders crested the rocks, guns flashing silver. Elias and John took aim together, their rifles roaring in unison. One outlaw fell hard, the other scattering. Smoke filled the yard. The smell of gunpowder and dust hung thick. John stumbled, clutching his side. Blood bloomed dark beneath his ribs. Elias caught him before he fell. John's gaze drifted toward the house, where Clara stood in the doorway, eyes wide, face pale in the lantern glow. Rosie clung to her leg, whispering something Elias couldn't hear. "She needs to know I came back," John said, breath hitching. "Tell her I never meant to frighten my girl." Elias pressed a hand to the wound, but the life was slipping fast. "I'll tell her," he said quietly. John smiled once, small, broken, before his eyes went still. The wind carried silence down the valley. Elias looked toward the house, toward the woman and child framed in the trembling light, and whispered to the night. He wasn't no ghost after all. The morning came blood-red over Whisper Valley. Smoke curled from the barn, thin and gray against the dawn. The last of the bandits lay where they fell, sprawled among the mesquite, faces turned toward the rising sun as if begging it for mercy. Elias worked in silence. His shirt was torn, his arm bound with a strip of cloth dark from blood. The shovel bit into the earth beside the old oak tree. a place marked by one weathered cross already leaning in the wind. Claire stood a few paces off, Rosie clutching her hand. Neither spoke. Only the scrape of metal against soil broke the quiet. Elias laid the body gently down. John Bell's face was still, the madness gone, leaving behind only the calm of a man who had finally stopped running. Elias straightened the rifle that rested across the chest, initials carved deep into the worn stock, JB. Claire stepped forward, voice low and trembling. I buried him once before. Elias didn't look up. Then let's do it right this time. The dirt fell soft and steady. Each handful seemed to weigh more than the last. When it was done, the grave looked peaceful under the shade of the oak, the valley quiet, the wind no longer howling but sighing through the grass. Rosie knelt, pressing a small wildflower atop the mound. He won't sneak in anymore, Mama. Clara knelt beside her, eyes glistening. Not anymore, sweetheart. He's home now. Elias turned from them, the brim of his hat shadowing his face. The sound of the shovel hitting the ground echoed once, hollow. He walked toward the porch where his saddle and rifle waited, moving slow, as though every step pulled at something deep inside. Clara called after him. Where will you go? He paused at the edge of the yard. Ain't figured that far. The sun climbed higher, burning away the last of the smoke. He slung John's rifle over his shoulder, running a thumb over the carved initials. From his pocket, he drew a knife and pressed it against the stock. The wood curled beneath the blade as he carved new letters beside the old ones. W/JB. When he was done, he looked once more at the house, the woman, and the child. Then he mounted his horse and rode east, toward the canyon where the sky met the earth. The wind rose behind him, carrying the faint cry of a child's voice. Thank you, Mr. Ward, fading into the sweep of dust and distance. As the storyteller's voice carries through the years, it always ends the same way.